Do you know what the ref cam reminds me of? It reminds me of Ref Cam, but from Robot Wars. Do you remember you used to get the camera on the ref in Robot Wars? So you'd get or Matilda Cam or whatever it was. That's a reference that's going to go over the head.
The right back's got flamethrowers on him now. And it's
yeah.
I do see improvements, and where we said last week we were 6 out of 10, are we potentially... because we're recording this on Sunday, the game's not officially out yet. We don't know whether or not the game's reached 7 out of 10 yet, but it's starting to look a little bit more positive from my perspective, I think.
I put the question out. If you could have shouts back in the game, but they didn't do anything, would you want them back in?
I said this exact thing on stream earlier, and chat were like, do you know what, just give me the placebo pill.
Yeah.
It's like when you hand your little brother the controller and he thinks he's playing the game. Just give me something. I feel like the weird passiveness that I feel is true and it has remained. However, it's actively making me pay attention to the game more because I want to find a reason to do stuff. So I'm making tactical tweaks on the fly, and I think it's actually making me better at the game.
Do you know what? I was thinking this on stream last night, and I was like, I wonder whether I'm being tricked into learning the game now. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the FM Show. I am, of course, your host, Tony Jameson, joined this evening by Maggio and SecondYellowCard. Fellas, how are we feeling? Because at time of release, Football Manager 26 is officially upon us. Matt, I'm going to come to you first of all.
It's just nice to have something new. I feel like I've been saying this for 2 weeks now, but it is just nice to have something new to play with and to sort of watch the development of, I suppose. It's like watching a youth intake and having a young player come through and going, he's probably got quite high PA there, but maybe he's needed a little bit of training. And that's sort of the way I've been trying to look at it and gauging it on that metric, I guess. It's just exciting, isn't it? New stuff, shiny new things.
Shiny new things, and actually an analogy that works as well, which again is very, very uncommon in these parts around here. So I appreciate that. Sai, how about yourself? Where's your head at?
Can I just say that new gen has definitely got a temperamental rating. He's definitely on the. You want to adjust his personality a little bit, so he's not temperamental. What's the other? There's one that's worse, isn't it? What's the worst one?
Slack.
Fickle.
Yeah. Is it fickle? Is fickle worse than temperamental?
Spineless.
There's a few.
Mercenary. Mercenary's pretty bad. And also, he's got a really bad face. And that's not just about his appearance. It's about it's about his appearance, actually, to be honest. But
essentially, there've been some interesting mods and stuff this week. Maybe this is a discussion for the future. See what they can do. We did theorize this, or theorize it. I don't know if that's the word we want, but about Unity Engine and what it was possible with it, because Unity obviously allows people to get stuck in a lot more, but we figured it would be locked away a bit more than it is, or maybe just they underestimated how easily people could get into Unity stuff.
Yeah, it seems very much like the back door was left open, doesn't it? All the modders just went, "It's open, everyone!" And then they came, and there's been a few.
Sure, great. There's some skins already, apparently.
So this has been interesting. We weren't probably going to speak about this at the start, but we probably should, shouldn't we? There's been a lot of talk this week. Obviously, there's been lots of stuff that's come out. There's been the game speed modification, because of course there's 1.25%, 1.75%, no 1.5%. So that's now a modification that's come out. There's AI faces for new gens. Obviously has come back in.
The new GAN pack.
New GANs.
Color changes attribute thingy. That's my favourite.
Yes, that's important. That's the best one. That's the most important one, except you can't change the white. And I think the green, if you change the green, it does change the text somewhere else on other screens. And the problem also is that it doesn't really work as a scale. It only works as like a tiny bit.
Just for identification, it's better because you can at least adjust it to your own tastes. But you're right; it needs to be threshold adjustable.
That's a good point, actually, because otherwise, it's going to remain the same throughout, isn't it? And of course, the leagues are going to be different, so there is that. There's also been Manager Cam has been one of the ones that I've seen that's come out this week, and I'll be honest, right? And look, do you remember when the was it the Korean mod that came out, which was like, we've done a brand new match engine for FM24. Loads of people coming in streaming that going, have you tried this new match engine? And my response was very much like, no, like, why would I? Because I have a match engine. And then I saw this one of like, here's manager cam. And I've already had people going, have you tried the new mods? And I'm like, again, there's a lot of work gone into this and well done for it. But my initial response is, no, I haven't tried that either. Like,
now, from a content point of view, I think it could be kind of like, imagine you're just there having an argument with the fourth official. Like, he's just ignoring you because he's obviously just like running up and down. But you're just like shouting at him. And like, if they made it like VR, this isn't going to happen. But could you imagine if they like made it VR and with the things, you could gesticulate your arms and be like,
some motion
like
sickness simulator.
Players. Yeah, it probably would be, right? Well, you're not moving.
Sick on the touchline.
You're standing still, so you should be all right. But
the one I saw, he was on the pitch.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw a VR, like a close-up one, and it was literally, it was like ref cam, basically. It was disturbing, yeah.
Running on to like deal with the referee. That's the clip I saw as well.
It was one of the French streamers.
Yeah. Do you know what the ref cam reminds me of? It reminds me of Ref Cam, but from Robot Wars. Do you ever used to get the camera on the ref in Robot Wars? So you get like, or Matilda Cam or whatever it was. That's a reference that's going to go over the head.
The right back's got flamethrowers on him now, and it's like,
yeah. They do it in the Premier League now, and I don't like it, but it's like,
it's weird.
Yeah. Well, they do it in FIFA. I think they added it to FIFA, EAFC, before they added it to real football. I'm pretty sure they have it in real football now, don't they?
Damn.
And they now have the mics like they do in rugby, which is kind of good.
That is good. That is good. I can't wait for the Sergeant Bash license to turn up. That's going to be quite good.
Robot Wars. Oh, they should bring that back. The yeah. Oh, forgetting mods. So yeah, they've done mods. We've had a few patches to the game. Mm-hmm. Hopefully there has been one on release day as well. We don't know because we're recording before release day. But fingers crossed they fix some more stuff.
I was very, very excited with one of the patch updates because I went through quite a rough spell on stream. 22 games, I think it was, without victory, which even by my standards is pretty impressive. And there's a massive issue where left backs and left wing backs just seemed to go missing, and no one seemed to engage defensively, and there was no tackling. And then Si, we spoke about this, and you were already making a video about it, and put some clips of my stream in there, which again to emphasise the point. And as if by magic, the following day, unrelated of course, we don't have that level of pull. By the way, just before anyone starts thinking, going, "Oh, here they come, old Shilly Shillison over here." Right? It's not true. Right? As if by magic, a new update dropped, and all of a sudden, I saw players tackling. And I was like, oh, here we go. And all of a sudden, my enjoyment of the game has gone that upward curve, because we were saying like our love of the game was going up and down. We weren't sure where we were in the beta. But the second I saw players tackle, I was like, oh, we've got a game here, everyone. We've got a game.
It broke my tactic.
Did it?
I was playing long ball and I was getting all these kind of, I had a 6'6" target forward. I was lumping balls into the box, just being proper, like, just dirty football. It was great because I was like, I couldn't really do that on previous games. And loaded in today, I was like, brilliant, I'm really excited about this. I've heard Tony started winning. I can't wait to see what happens here. And didn't score a single-headed goal the entire time. But on the plus side, my target forward is now a very nice link-up man. And the channel forwards work, the channel attacking midfielders, or whatever they're called, are unbelievable.
Yes.
Now, he's just constantly making these runs in behind. It's like a shadow striker, but better. It's amazing.
Do you think they did? See, part of me's thinking, like, I've just almost placeboed myself into thinking that there was a change because Tony obviously started getting results. I started getting results.
It's quite obvious. Like, I feel like my crosses are no longer being floated because I literally had a target man who'd scored 11 goals in like 8 league games. I think 10 of them were headers from crosses. Maybe one was from like a free kick or something. And then today he didn't score a single one over the entire stream. He still scored goals, but it was all like tap-ins and nice little connected things. There was definitely some differences the way the play was linking up. And I wonder if it's to do with the way the fullbacks were pressing people more. Because obviously in the wide areas, we're getting loads of crosses in, but they were getting out there and blocking them a lot more. So I had to change everything.
I saw the wing back run straight at, like, so where I saw him the day before, he would just like run back towards our own byline. like, and just take himself completely out of play.
Yeah.
I had people telling me it was my own fault because of plug and play tactics. I was like, what are you on about?
Where are you getting them from?
No, even if it was plug and play, a real footballer would not go and take himself almost off of the pitch, right?
The amount of comments
the next day, sorry, I was just going to say the next day, he ran straight at the winger, tackled him, and walked off with it 3 times. And I was like, it's definitely, I think it has changed. But
We are so back.
I'm not sure. Sorry, Tony, what were you going to have?
Yeah, no, I was going to say the amount of times I was told on stream, it's your tactics. I'm like, it's not my tactic. Yeah. And I was trying, and I was getting really wound up about it because I was trying to be diligent with this as well. Like, Matt, you say your tactic broke. I was looking at mine and I was like, right, this makes logical sense. This player needs to be there. He needs to be on that role. This midfielder is covering to compensate for the fact that he's going to be out of position when he doesn't engage. The midfielder's being pulled back down. So I've got 3 players in this area. And Syed put up on his video, he showed that none of them were remotely interested in getting involved. Then the next day, our WhatsApp group goes off going, bloody hell, TJ's 3-0 up. Like, it's going off. This is not a drill. So something must have clicked for it to have worked. And it seems to be, touch wood, it seems to be still doing that. Wingers are still very, very powerful. They are still doing a lot of cutbacks, but they're not just running through players now. They're not just ghosting through players. They are actually weaving around. But as I said,
doing skills. I saw some good skills.
Yes. I'm seeing people actually like lunge in and try to take them out as well. And it's like, weirdly, I know that doesn't seem to be a lot of collision stuff, but it's actually pretty good considering it. I don't think there is a proper collision system, but some of the tackles you see coming in, the way that it's they'll be in like, you know, almost like knee height sometimes. And the way that their knee will kind of react to it and they'll sort of stumble, it actually looks really good. I noticed that there's a lot more skill moves not skill moves, but like little flicks and tricks in certain areas of the pitch from high flair players seem to be way more prominent all of a sudden. And I feel like the thing with the wingbacks and stuff was sort of the biggest bugbear I've seen most people complaining about the tactics and the way that it played, because for the most part it was pretty positive, I think, most of the reviews of it. But it feels like they've actually which presumably something has changed. It seems like it was like the one thing people had an issue with, and now that seems to be way better. And now the match engine for me, I say it broke my tactic. I'm still winning. I'm just winning in a different way now. And it's just really bloody good. It feels like even more potential now in a way, which is so exciting.
Yeah, strikers weren't scoring before. Strikers weren't scoring. It was all wingers. Everything was coming from out wide. Maybe someone had a tactic where they got strikers working. But I was like, watch. I don't think I had Balotelli. I don't think he scored in 15 games. And then like since Friday, I'm like, he's scoring or whoever, my other striker is scoring like every single game now. I'm like, there's definitely something. But the thing is, it's not, they don't put the match engine stuff in the patch notes. So you're just left guessing. And you're like, this is why I asked the question, whether you think it has changed or whether I just was like looking at my own engine different and like was, you know, confirmation bias looking for those particular things.
The one thing though is I have seen, this was just today, so maybe it's a small sample size and I got really unlucky. I found that one of the beautiful things about this match engine before was that I wasn't having to put shoot less often on a lot of players. It felt like the default level of shooting was actually quite adequate for the situation. Whereas today I found I was getting my wingers in positions where they were on the byline and shooting into the side netting like on FM21. And I was like, don't want to see that kind of crap come back, because that was infuriating. Once I turned that off, it seemed to improve. But I was like, I shouldn't have to have that for it to just be like basic stuff. So I hope that is maybe just a slight overcorrection in there caused by something else, because that would be horrible to have that back in the game.
I've seen him do that. Instead of, I saw it a couple of Reddit posts, people posting that the winger, basically you had 3 players who were beyond the defensive line. So the winger cutting inside and 2 forwards going into the box. And the winger shoots into the side netting instead of the easy ball across. Which
I saw it about 5 or 6 times today.
Yeah. I mean, so part of me is like, okay, that could happen in real football. You know, let's say you've got, I don't know, Garnacho, you know, greedy player, just shoots it into the side netting instead of making the obvious pass. You can see it like with some players, but I at the same time, it's like, that should be the obvious pass. Is it balancing out the, you know, making it not too exploitable? I always found this. How do you feel about when the players don't follow your instructions?
Well, teamwork is an attribute, and I feel like people underestimate how important that actually is, because, I mean, the game tells you, like, if a player has lower teamwork, they're less likely to be disciplined in terms of the team instructions. I used to have goalkeepers that I would say, you're going to distribute this to the centre-backs and the full-backs, and then I'd get Mardy with him because he's booting it down the pitch after 60 minutes, and I'd be like, why? And then chat would just point out, well, he's got 7 teamwork, so he's going to be a bit, like, rebellious occasionally, and I feel like that is actually kind of a thing you want, really. Not, you don't want it, but like you want it in the game as a thing that's going to happen. I think
I I have that as part of my TJ DNA as well. So I have like sort of 4 or 5 attributes that like all of my players have to have. What, like, I can maybe have one player that doesn't have them all. Like I can have like a Berbatov sort of thing, right? But like they've got to have teamwork. They've got to have determination. They've got to be fit, you know. And then ideally, I want something like for defenders or midfielders, I want like a bit of leadership in there. Like maybe I want like a little bit of ability if I'm looking for someone who's out wide. So, but like my core DNA has got to be teamwork and determination and fitness, because otherwise they're just not going to cut it in my style, really. So I think you're right. I think that attribute is probably overlooked by quite a large percentage of people. Not all people, obviously, but yeah, it definitely has an impact. Definitely has an impact.
I think you can just carry a player with low teamwork sometimes if you've got a team that are reasonably solid across the board. If they've got good, outstanding attributes, that guy who is going to do the occasional rogue thing is okay. Because sometimes the rogue thing is actually really good for you, and it can give you that sort of X factor, that ace in the hole that will just do something crazy sometimes that you're not trying to do. But he may well just, you know, in a tactic that's designed for like more of a passing play, he may just pick it up, run past 6 people and boot it in the top corner. But most of the time, that's going to fall badly on his arse and he's going to go into the side netting. But that one time it does work, you suddenly go, I'm a genius. Except you're not. But
and speaking of that, I am now seeing quite a few bits, and well, maybe this is because of the fact that I'm in a different division now. More on that later. But my overall play in game is starting to look much smarter in the match engine now. Like I am noticing moving the ball from side to side. I'm noticing like balls in the middle, little intricate triangles on the edge of the box. I've seen players like sort of stretching to play a pass as well, like to sort of make sure they get to the ball first. So yeah, like I do see improvements, and where we said last week we were 6 out of 10, you know, are we potentially, you know, because we're recording this on Sunday, the game's not officially out yet. We don't know whether or not the game's reached 7 out of 10 yet, but it's starting to look a little bit more positive from my perspective, I think.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't say 7 probably. I feel like if we get a really nice day one patch and it's changed some of the QOL stuff about the actual gameplay, then I'm happy and I'd like to see that. But I think like my enjoyment level of the game, especially in like over the weekend, like up to today, I think is definitely, I came away from today's stream being like, that was really fun and I enjoyed watching the matches. And I'm not even really super invested in this save yet, and I can't wait to get invested in the save, because I feel like if I care about these teams, those Champions League nights or something are going to be phenomenal.
Can I put a question to you both? So I put this out on my Twitter. So matches, I think we discussed last week, they can feel a little bit passive. Obviously, you can tweak your tactics, but you don't have the shouts anymore, because Miles said they didn't work properly, so they took them out of the game. Now, I put the question out. If you could have shouts back in the game, but they didn't do anything, would you want them back in?
I said this exact thing on stream earlier, and chat were like, do you know what? Just give me the placebo pill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's like when you hand your little brother the controller and he thinks he's playing the game. Like, just give me something. But, yeah.
I found the response to it fascinating on my... Because anyone who wrote a reply... So lots of people wrote replies, and they were like, why would you want it if it doesn't do anything? Like, they were like, you know, I don't want something pointless in the game. Don't put something pointless in the game. Like, everyone who went out their way to write a reply. Lots of people who are friends of the show, friends of our channel, you know, people who were, you know, they weren't being angry or anything. They were just saying, why would I want it if it doesn't do anything, right? But the poll was 66% in favor of the pointless shouts, right? The no consequence shouts. I found that really interesting. Like, that many people and it was like 400 votes or something. So it wasn't like 3 people, and 66% was 2. I think it was 69% actually. But it was, I found that really fascinating.
With that though, side, do you reckon that's higher based on people seeing things removed from the game, and they just sort of like, they want things put back in, and they don't want the game to have had anything taken out at all? So it's maybe like, well, it was in before, put it back in again. I think it was mentioned before about, you know, international football. It wasn't perfect. Well, still, you shouldn't really just take it out because it's not perfect. You should make it better. Like, you know, it should still be in, and you should be looking to improve upon it. So maybe, I guess the joy with all things statistical is you can look at data any which way you want, really, and you can sort of glean your own answers from it. But I wonder if that's potentially part of it, going, well, yeah, just stick it back in. Like, because why take it out? It's part of, the argument is it's part of football, you know? So, yeah, pop it back in there and see what happens. But Yeah, I'm a bit like yourself. Well, what would I want? I don't know. The placebo,
and the thing
maybe.
is, you could argue that a manager yelling from the touchline in a real game isn't probably doing a great deal anyway. But he's
Premier
sort
League,
of,
probably not.
there's an element of catharsis about it. Like the guy on the other touchline is going to hear a word he's yelling at that point, right? So, and in truth, like, honestly, I don't really care if it's back in the game, but I understand what you mean about the sort of the passiveness in games. But for some reason, and this might just be me, so maybe if listeners feel the same, I don't know. I feel like the weird passiveness that I feel is true and it has remained. However, it's actively making me pay attention to the game more because I want to find a reason to do stuff. So I'm making tactical tweaks on the fly, and I think it's actually making me better at the game.
Do you know what? I was thinking this on stream last night, and I was like, I wonder whether I'm being tricked into learning the game now. I'm just like, I'm learning by accident. This is
Get a Pavlovian response.
See, I'm finding myself losing track of time in games. Like it'll get to the 8. I think I used to do this a little bit anyway, but I'm worse for it now because I'm finding it hard to judge. I sort of used to know roughly how far into the game I was. Now I'm like, I think also because of the 2D match that's going on, and it will suddenly hit 80 minutes, and I haven't realized I haven't made any subs, and I'm like, I think also because I don't know if my players aren't getting as tired as they used to, or I might get it more later in the season. I'm rotating a lot. But I feel like I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, I haven't made any subs. Why have I not made any subs? Like, so in the past game, I probably would have looked at, around the 60th minute, making a shout and making my subs. Because you do your halftime talk, then you leave it a little bit. Because you only do a shout every 10 minutes anyway. So that sort of segmented it up in FM24 and 23. And then in this now.
I see what you mean. I wonder if it's because, when the button goes grey when you were doing the shouts before and you couldn't click it again? Yeah. It's almost like it was... honestly, like a kind of Pavlovian response. You're like, oh, it's gone clickable again, which means it's probably time for subbies. Yeah, and you do it around that same sort of time because it's segmented it. You're right, yeah. Because you're never going to be able to do it every 10 minutes if you're playing on like quite a fast highlight speed. So it probably ends up being more like 13 to 14 minutes, which is perfectly in time for subs.
Yeah. So I just wonder whether like that's the reason. I don't mind it, but I can really enjoy it. I watch the 2D match engine all the time. I get annoyed because I watch the 2D match engine and I'm like, show me that highlight. I swear we just got through on goal. Why is that not a highlight? And it's ticked up one goal on there. But I do like it because I'm watching it and I'm like, I feel like if I'm watching, before you just have the match stats, but you'd have the commentary, of course, but you just have the match stats. And I'm seeing, oh, they've had 4 shots on target and we haven't had any. But I'm watching my team take it down the wing, get close to the box and then lose the ball. And I'm like, well, actually, we're probably on top here, but we're just not getting the shots away. And it helps. I know a lot of people aren't using the 2D engine, or some people hate it. Some people hate the little 2D match. Tony, are you one of the people that hates the 2D match?
I don't like it. The reason I don't like it is because it's too fast, right? And I have to have it too fast because I don't want the game to drag out longer than it is. I've already ditched off dynamic highlights, by the way. That takes too long for me. So in order to slow it down, to get the benefit from it, the games are then going to take longer and longer. And like for the way that I play it, particularly on stream, the way I play it, I'm famously not as engaged in the game as some people maybe should be. But yeah, to slow it down and get the real benefit from it, like I see the logic. I absolutely see the logic, but the speed I have it at the minute, it takes me a second to catch up with what's going on. Then it's a highlight, and I'm like, all right, I've already missed out. So yeah. Not for me at the moment.
Do you know what I found interesting? Have you tried dropping the resolution of your screen down?
No.
To a much smaller and squarer screen. The tiles adapt, and you get a very large 2D view in the middle.
So it can
to
be
honest,
adaptable.
sometimes I don't even wear my glasses. So that's also part of the problem as well.
You get a vertical 2D match pitch, and it's the majority of the screen.
So are you saying that the optimal setup is to play it on a 12-inch CRT television? Because if so...
Yeah, put your game in 800 by 600. Obviously, it looks like it's, Vaseline smeared on your 4K screen.
What's a console ratio? I'll just do that.
Consoles are 4K as well. Oh, I don't know, actually. Who knows? We've seen the screenshots. We'll see what that's like. Well, everyone listening will know what that's like now, so we'll see if it's the same game or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that. Like, look, the idea of the 2D thing. I get it, but for me personally, it's just a bit too busy for me. And I know I could dial it down and get the benefit from it. But
I've joined the 2D crowd. 2D only, boys.
I mean, we were talking about this just before you joined the call, actually, Si. And again, I know we will only know what we know on Tuesday, but I think I'm at the point now with the data updates or the little patch updates or whatever they are over the last few weeks. Matt and I were discussing, going like, do you know what? It's probably only a skin away from being playable now. And I just literally think it's just things are just in the wrong area. I think if you had a skin, you had some customizable skins in there, I think that the vast majority of people would now be able to create a better way of working for themselves that they would then be able to play the game and get a little bit more enjoyment out of. Still not saying it'll be perfect. And of course, that's one of those gripes that's going to be out there anyway. But I do think that just a little bit of customization and with those tweaks in the match, I think we're not a million miles away from a decent enough game now.
Let's do a risky prediction. What do you think the Steam review is going to be on Wednesday morning?
I think it'll be mixed, as in the literal term mixed.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of people saying it's going to be mostly negative. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be mixed.
I think if the game was allowed to be reviewed when it first dropped on beta, I could totally see that being the scenario, because there was this just wave, and understandably so in a lot of areas. Like, I know some of the criticism got a bit out of hand in certain places, but a lot of it was entirely justified, I think. But it does seem like, particularly just with the patches that we've seen, which were mostly stability and bug fixing, depending on what the day one patch for the full release is going to be like. And I really hope that there is some QOL stuff in there and little things that, as much as we've said that a skin could help, I think it can, but there is still some fundamental things missing, that like importing and exporting scouting filters has to come back into the game. And they've got to fix some of the filters that are broken. That's just one thing. Things where things get moved around, skins can handle that. But I think that now there's more likelihood of it being a bit more balanced, or at least mixed with it slowly over time. Because there's that thing that tracks the Steam reviews over time. Hopefully, for a reason, it gets better, because the game hopefully gets better along with it.
I think there's a thing, like there's maybe a mindset, and I don't know what I'm basing this on possibly, but I think that people would be more likely to leave a negative review given how long it's been since FM24 and 26. And I think that people would be less likely to leave a positive review. Just because I think that people's expectations have been higher than what has been delivered. So I think that people would be more likely to say my expectations weren't met, really. So yeah, I think it would probably be slightly more negative in terms of the review at launch from me personally. That's my thinking behind it.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's going to be tricky, isn't it? Because I imagine anyone who's coming in, all the Game Pass users won't be reviewing it on Steam or whatever, so they'll be coming in fresh on Game Pass with their own version. This tidier version. I wonder how many bugs there's still going to be. I mean, viewers will know, or listeners will know by Wednesday. I'm sure they'll be working on it hard for a little bit, but like I said this last week, it's just not ready, is it? And I guess they've just pushed it out too early. Even, I know it's beta, and we've sort of excused it a little bit in the past because it's beta, but at the same time, and they have fixed a lot. And I know people will say, oh, there's X number of bugs listed on the forum, but that's like a lot of those are duplicates, or a lot of those have already been fixed, or or a lot of those are, we don't need to know how many times Max Dowman isn't in the game, or like the Italian license isn't there or whatever. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, there's something. I think like a solid game on Tuesday would be nice. If they can get it to that point, fix a couple of the screens that are still broken, put a couple of quality of life, team talks, team meetings was a big one for people, right? That seems to be back now, as far as I understand, right? It's in the right spot.
Yeah, I think so.
I do wonder as well about like dead links and stuff, like things that just didn't seem to be linked up. I think Matt, you were saying that about like sort of, there's the pages are there, they're just not put together. So it's like, can you just tidy that up a little bit and see if that helps move us on a little bit?
I think as well, because obviously we are, experience is probably the wrong word, but like wizened, I suppose, having played thousands of hours of this game. And I imagine a lot of the listeners are in the same boat for that, because listen to an FM podcast, right? But have you guys heard much from newer players to the game that maybe this is their first outing with FM because they've seen some stuff in the past and gone, hey, you know what, I'm going to jump in this particular game cycle because of the 2 years of hype. I don't know if you guys have seen much for people just interacting with you personally or in your streams of those type of audience members, because I think that's almost a forgotten group in some respects.
I've not really heard much in my streams, to be honest. I think one of the newer people that have spoken in chat recently has said that they've been playing the game for 5 years. So like, clearly a COVID player, like a pandemic player. And I guess that would be classed as a new player in the grand scheme of the Football Manager community. But maybe because it's beta, people who are brand new maybe aren't pre-ordering. So I think what would be interesting is getting those viewpoints maybe around about Christmas time, possibly when people get the game for Christmas and go, right, oh, you know, we bought you this because you like your football, don't you? Like your Football Manager, we'll get you the game, see what you think. And at that point, that would be really interesting to find out brand new first impressions and see where they sit. Because I think we come in this with preconceived ideas. I think really we have, as you say, we're battle hardened. We've been through the mill with it, and so yeah, we've been told it's going to take us a bit of time to relearn. But will a brand new player adapt a bit easier? I don't know. Si, what do you reckon?
I think, so one of the things I said before is a brand new player doesn't know what they're missing.
Yeah.
Right? A brand new player isn't going, oh, where are shouts? Because they never knew they were there. Or where is like under 18 training, or like they just don't know those screens exist, which maybe changes their expectation a little bit. And I think when I think about the logical navigation, I think some of it's clearly broken or not in the right place right now. But like I said last week, some of it makes more sense. Like where transfers are now is under the recruitment tab. It's not under. You don't go to scouting to do your transfers. So I think it's, I can't really speak. I think Tuesday actually will get a good idea of new users because you'll get some on Game Pass, I'm sure. Because people who aren't sure about the game, especially seeing this negativity around it, are probably going to wait. If they've got Game Pass, they're going to try it. Like, okay, let's see, how bad is it?
I think as well with new gamers and new users to the game, how much of the negative and or positive stuff are they going to have seen prior to activating the game? Because they might not be knowing where to look. They might not be looking in the places where, comments and thoughts are being exercised, again, positively and negatively. So they may be going in quite open-minded, possibly, I suppose, or maybe even blinkered and just being like, right, I'm just going to buy a game and I don't know what else is around. They're cutting through everything. So they are making a genuine first impression. So yeah, I think that would be quite interesting to capture, particularly, of course, with the increase in potentially console playership, mobile playership. That could be interesting to see what they think as well.
Yeah. Okay. We were going to avoid these topics today, but we've ended up going into them. We were. What was the topic for today, Tony? Before we get ourselves in trouble.
Well, I think it's important to preface that we've recorded this prior to launch. I think that's the thing. But ultimately, today's show is going to be, what are we going to be playing when the game hits? Like, what's the save? What are we gearing up for? Because we've had beta saves. We'll talk about beta saves, and we'll work out whether they're going to change, whether they're going to continue, and what the plans are for FM26 as a cycle. So who wants to go first? Si, Matt, who wants to take the wheel and then lead us down the path of your journeys?
Matt, are you doing treaty?
No, I'm
your shirt.
I have done treaty in the past, and I saw this in my drawer earlier and thought, ooh, I'll just pop that on today. It just felt right. Yeah. But I guess I'll go. It is a team that I think do play in red, so I suppose there's that connection, and that is the segue I'm going with.
A red save, very interesting.
Crazy, I know. I would never do a teams. I never ever do a save with a team that plays in red, other than like 60% of them apparently have a type. I'm going to be doing, well, would you believe it, me doing Building a Nation? Crazy. I know. In other news, water is also wet. And I just, basically what it is, I felt like all these years, I've kind of always felt like Poland was the best nation to do Building a Nation with if you are going to do it the way I do it, because it doesn't require you dicking about the database and changing the rules. the league is perfectly placed for it. And I did it in 2018 on YouTube before I really knew a lot about what I was doing with it. I didn't know all the silly tricks that you can pull off and the crazy things that you can make work. And so I figured that maybe with 26, this is a perfect time to try it in like its purest form, I guess. And it's just so perfectly placed for it. So I'm doing Wisła Kraków as the team because they're second tier in Poland, but they're historically quite a massive team these days. They're currently top, I think they're 13 points clear in the promotion spots already, and it's like November. So they're absolutely crashing it. Their goal difference, I think, after like 13 games is plus 31. So they're getting promoted this year. Touch wood. So I figured that it's the perfect team to take over because I like taking over second tier sides and building a nation saves anyway, because that way you get to bring the team up and they've already got the existing teams. And Poland is so good for this because if you think of like Polish giants, there's so many teams in Poland that have a reasonable level of rep with, you know, you've got your Lech Poznans and all those types of guys and Legia Warszawa and Lechia Gdansk, all those types of teams. There's so many teams up there that you can, and the regens that you could get through because of the youth rating. The rules are relatively relaxed. There's some rules about like under 21 players on the pitch, but you get a fine. It's, for me, it just feels like the perfect amalgamation of all the things I like about those types of saves. And I'm actually just super excited to get started with it, honestly.
How has Wisła Kraków ended up in the second tier? I'm pretty sure they used to be in Europe like maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's the thing. They fell off hard. They were in the second tier last year as well, which was originally my plan was to do this save in FM25. And they got into the playoffs last year, but unfortunately for them, didn't get promoted. Fortunately for me, they stayed as a second tier side, so I could still kind of officially choose them for this save. But it just means I think their squad is kind of overstrong for this league, which is good because it means I get a chance to actually build a tactic that I really want to play in the second tier, because I really do want to try and build some like proper total football style play with these lot, because I've got all the long ball stuff with Slavia on my beta save, but just having the possibility to see what this tactical system can do if I go really short passing, lots of passing, not a lot of dribbling, actually, where the idea is to move the ball, let the ball do the movement rather than the players, and see if I can create some genuinely awesome football. Because I feel like if there was any kind of match engine that you could do that in, it's probably this one if you get the right combinations. I'm just really excited to do tactics, which is not something I can normally say.
Interesting. I was just looking while you were saying, they won 8 titles between 1998 and 2011. That's like Man United getting relegated. So, that sounds perfect team to take over for Build a Nation. So you don't think you're going to have to do any database changes or anything for this one?
We're going to make a couple, but it's mostly not like necessities. It's more things for like a difficulty level to make it harder. Because the one thing I always find a pain in the arse about Building a Nation saves is when you got all these loan players out, a lot of leagues have the thing where players can't play against their parent club. But if you do that, you end up finding that the games are too easy in the league because they may have like 11 guys on loan from you and 8 of their first team players are no longer allowed to play. It's not very fun, but there's a rule you can put in the advanced database editor that means that which is stolen, I think, from the Norwegian league, where players on loan have to be allowed to play against their parent club no matter what, and it's hard coded. So what we do is we normally put that into the league rules by default, so that way you don't have to dick about with like clauses and stuff, and you can just be forced to let them play against you. Because I made the mistake when I was managing Treaty of not having that in there. We played a game against Sligo Rovers, who had 17 players on loan from us. Their entire first team, bar 2 guys, were on loan from us. So they had grayed out players in their league starting 11 against us, and it was a disaster, obviously. So I learned my lesson from that. But other than that, I don't really make many changes necessarily needed to it, because I wanted to have a more pure environment for it this year, just to see what it could be done in the raw form, I guess.
I suppose as well with the transfer room as well, given what you do with the loan farm, that could be like perfect for you, where you're literally targeting each club in the league going, right, I need to get, right, they need a left midfielder. Well, I'll tell you what, I have this guy. And that could really sort of like help make Build a Nation so much more effective.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you've got, one of my stupidly, I think I had maxed out 400 players in my squad on the last save, but I could just be like, if they want something, I've got something for you. I'm like an everything store, I'm like, what's it called? Like QDs. You go in there, you're going to come out with something. I have what they want. They just don't know it yet. And I'm hoping that system will definitely help with that, because we've checked some stuff and things like the 2-year loan glitch, that still works crazily. The loan screen is an absolute disaster as far as like the fact that it only seems to show 3 players, which is insane. But if they make it so that you can actually see more players on that screen, The side panel thing is a game changer because it saves you an enormous amount of clicks when extending loans every year. And if you're doing 300 of them, that takes a while. So if they just let you display more on the screen and maybe add a few extra columns on that screen, it would be phenomenal. But even as it is right now, it's still an improvement in terms of its functionality, which is wild considering how little information it displays. There's definitely some really good stuff there.
Yeah, that's a theme. Like I know it was the other one, recruiting staff. You can't see their attributes when you're going to go recruit them. I think it's the same like email inbox thing, isn't it? Where it just gives you a way too small a box for what you want to see.
Yeah.
I mean, the Build a Nation definitely sounds like me and Tony both tried it last year and failed.
Yes.
I reckon if I'd have carried on, well, the problem is I did it in Belgium, and I didn't want to adjust the database or anything, so I didn't want to loan farm it. I was trying to like pure do it. No offense, Matt, but you know, I didn't want to cheese it too much. You know, I already felt like I could achieve a relative level of success, but I just got like the sack killed the save, and then I went back to one of the other top teams. But it is kind of tough to make it happen without cheesing it, I suppose, because, you know, England are just so hard to catch up with. If you want to get them to the top, right? I mean, is that the ultimate goal, to get them to the top?
Yeah, it's always been my goal to get one of these nations to number one on the coefficient charts. And it's the reason I like that is because, one, it's like New Game Plus. So if you win a Champions League, it's like, oh, great, that's awesome. That isn't the main goal. So you still have that desire to do stuff afterwards. And it makes you so invested in the individual performances of the other teams in your league. It feels like one of my favorite things about it is watching like not a Champions League final, but like a Europa League final on stream, but it's not my team. We've already done our part. We're watching one of the other teams in our league play against like Man City. I'll never forget watching a Hungarian side, it was Kisvárda, play against Man City in the Europa League final. They fluked their way there and they scored a free kick in the 90th minute to win the Europa League over Man City. And we celebrated that more than we did our own Champions League win because it was so underdoggy. And I think it just gives you this like, you just really get invested in the other teams in your league when they're in Europe, and it gives you so many more different pies to sort of stick your fingers in. So many things to root for, essentially. And I like that because it's just more interesting for me. I like the game world evolving like that, and it's just so fun. It's my favorite thing in the world to do.
I noticed that when we were in Greece, because we brought Larissa up from the second division. So again, I did similar to yourself there, bring them into the division. They already had an established hierarchy in Greece of like decent European pedigree sides. And then I was like, well, I'm going to have to get in there, try and upset the apple cart a little bit. Took me a bit of time to understand that I wasn't there to win the league all the time. Just I was there to rise the tide, essentially. And we were looking at like the success in Europe every year of teams in Greece. And I was like, blimey heck, like, you know, we're winning like Europa Leagues, we're in Europa conferences, like get into like quarterfinals of the Champions League. And I'm like, this is excellent. Like we were having a great time. And then the moment we turned up into a European final with Europa League final, the Larissa board sacked me the night before the game because I hadn't played young players. And I was like, well, the save's done. Like, the save's done at that point, like, because I'd spent so long investing into Larissa that I just didn't have that feeling or affinity with another club. And I was like, oh, there you go. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? 20 seasons down the drain. And,
that's horrible. That's never happened to me, but like I could totally see how that would completely drain you. I've always had like contingency plans in case that happened. Usually by about 15 seasons in, we've always developed like a special liking towards a team that's a little bit hard on their luck. And we sort of designate them the kind of, in case of danger, break glass team kind of thing. Like with Treaty United, it was always Longford Town because they had a tycoon in the second tier of Ireland, but they refused to get out of the division. And I was like, if I could get in there, if I needed to, I could go there and do some stuff. And it was the same in Hungary. We always picked a team that was like, those guys are the backup plan just in case, you know, this marriage doesn't work out. I've got, after the divorce, I'm in with them.
Nice. Yeah, keep someone in your phone just in case.
Yeah, that's the stepdad team.
Yeah. We'll do the transfers are done at McDonald's on a motorway services. Yeah, I mean, Build a Nation was on the cards for me at one point this year, but then I was like, I don't really know if Build a Nation is going to be the way forward. I was going to do Scotland. I was going to do Build a Nation Scotland, but then I was like, I don't really know where that goes. And then I quite enjoyed doing the international management in a weird way with Greece last year. So once that's not in, I was like, oh, well, fine, I don't want to get involved without getting the Scottish national team on board. So decided against that. So before we come to mine, Si, where are you at with yours? Because are you giving a bit of a hint away with your shirt? Or
well, so I was in two minds. Okay, so I wanted to. Normally, what I do, I haven't done one for a few. I've sort of done one, but I've not really done one for a few years. Where just a journeyman, where I start at the bottom. Like English is the low. England is the lowest you can go in terms of number of leagues.
Yeah,
I think, unless someone corrects me, you can go down to the 7th tier, right? So you 6th tier.
Yeah.
And I don't think anywhere else has beyond 3. Maybe somewhere has 4, but I don't.
Norway's got 4, I think.
Norway might have 4, yeah, or Sweden might have 4. There is somewhere strange that has 4, but there's not as many teams, is there? Like in the divisions.
Northern Ireland has like 4 as well, weirdly.
Yeah.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So even though obviously like some semi-pro teams in England are going to be better than, I don't know, 3rd tier Hungarian teams, maybe not.
Scotland
I don't know.
as well.
Well, Scotland doesn't have non-league. Scotland,
there's database in it to add in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no Highland Low League. Moza obviously does the Highland Low League database. I think he's doing it again this year. So I was like, normally I do England. Now, 2 years ago, we did Hamilton Waterlooville. And the problem I have is when I do that, even if I set out with the idea of a journeyman, if I start doing well, I don't want to leave the club. Mm-hmm. And like Hamilton Waterlooville, we stayed. Eventually, we got sacked. Then we left the club and we went into different things. But we were in the Premier League by the time that happened. So I was like, I essentially had enough cred that I could just move to a top team and journeyman's like go to Man United or Arsenal season, win Champions League. Journey. I think it was Real Madrid I went to actually. Then journeyman's done, right? So it's one of those weird things where actually, okay, maybe I need to do it with the club, take the club up. And I did it with Sutton United last season when they run their competition, and I was just way too slow with it to get the entries in. I should have done a Tom FM or what the other guys did and like just holidayed loads of it, or just did. I think Robbo just put them straight into the Premier League, which fair play to him. You know, like it's a challenge, but I was like, right, I got to take them all the way up from the bottom, and it just took forever, and I missed the competition deadline by the time it had come around. So I did it with Sutton last year. So I was like, okay, I could do it with a team this year from the bottom. And I was thinking, okay, find a team, like have the non-league football shirt guys send me a shirt and I'll start down there. And then I'll jump, I'll try. But I was thinking maybe I'd do it as a journeyman because with the women's game in the game this year, I was thinking, okay, I can jump between them back and forth and like see where I end up. But I don't know how you guys feel about leaving jobs where you're doing well.
It's tough.
You don't like to do it, do you?
No.
Because you know it could go wrong in the next job.
That's the thing. It could just, the grass ain't always greener. And like, unless you've got some specific rule that says you have to leave, like with my last save, if we got to a European final and lost, I had to quit my job. And it was the worst because that team that I built got to a Champions League final in like 3 years. So yeah, as you say, if you don't.
And you spend a lot of time just constantly, well, me, I know I do. I constantly spend a lot of time looking in the job centre and therefore not really focusing on my current job, which in the end actually is detrimental to my current employment because I'm like clearly one eye somewhere else being like, oh, that job's just come up, like maybe I'll go there, and then you don't get that job and I'm like, oh, all right, I've got to come back to this useless job that I'm fine with, second, whatever, kicking things around a bit.
What you could do is, I mean, this is just me thinking out loud again, is if you wanted to like, so because I understand that entire like, you take a team for a while and then you can just kind of really to the top quite quickly after a while, but I feel like this is where save restrictions are quite useful because you could basically say, I can only jump one division up to my next job potentially, because that way it stops that kind of artificial inflation of it. Basically,
I also put a bit of a tweak on. I put a bit of a tweak on the last journeyman that we did in FM24, where when I moved to a club, I sort of invented another part of the story. So, for example, I moved to Häcken in Sweden, and I was like, well, they're clearly data driven, so I played Moneyball for a little bit there with them. And then when I went to Saussure, I was like, well, maybe we have like a director of football in place. So they're going to be presenting my transfers to me and trying to do that. That was just a way of just trying to stimulate a bit more interest at the end of the 24 game cycle. But again, maybe you're hamstringing yourself as you go through the save. Possibly, I don't know. But where are you at then, Si?
So I was speaking with the non-league football shop guys because I was like, is there any teams like in that? Because I wanted a nice shirt as well. I've got a nice, not Corby, Chorley shirt. And I was thinking maybe I'll do Chorley. And then I thought, okay, let's have a look at what other leagues. Scottish leagues, I've got some nice Scottish non-league shirts. They're not in the game, not in the base game. And I always feel like I might do custom databases later, but I always like to start with stuff that's properly in the game that I don't have to worry about things breaking. maybe. So, I didn't think about that.
worrying.
Yeah, less breaking. So then I thought, okay, well, so the Welsh leagues, they have the Premier League, the Kimberley Premier League. This is my problem. I'm going to butcher all the pronunciations of the Welsh league.
Can't be
And
worse,
then underneath, we're going to have North and South. I think they're North and South. They are split, yeah. So, and in one of them, I notice, and I'm going to butcher this as well, Llanwit Major. I think it's said like that, Llanwit. It's double L at the start. Who also do that football shirt and that football shirt, the Mr. Blobby one. If you can't see, if those audio listeners, the football shirt is Mr. Blobby, okay, and the other one is a dinosaur driving a truck, and this football shirt is like a fish and chips, right? So so that's who I'm going with. I think. Now, the non-league football shirt guys are sending me a shirt. I don't know if it's this team or a team in the North or the South. I just said send me a non-league shirt, right? So it could be a Welsh team. I said you can also do the Welsh leagues. Or I don't think Northern Ireland, I don't know how low Northern Ireland goes, but I don't think they have Northern Ireland shirts. So, yeah, we'll see what we get. I think it might be Llanwit. It was like one of the options that I know is on the list. You know, the other good teams that I quite like, Rogerstone, Newport Corinthians, they weren't in the game. So... It might be starting with them in Wales. Now, the Welsh Women's League is also in the game. So it opens up. Now, I with this team, I can only go up one division. But that's a division at a quite low level. So I could get success with them. I don't think I'm going to be winning any, unless I turn it into a Welsh builder nation. I don't think I'm going to be getting any European success with them. Not like significantly. So what I might end up, like, it almost forces me to then take the save elsewhere. So like in a way that Matt was saying, like this is the start of my movement then to somewhere else. Maybe I only choose teams with football shirts I like. That could be it, right? That could be expensive.
If you're only managing teams of football shirts you like, that's literally every team in the world size. It doesn't really narrow it down at all, does it?
That's true.
What's interesting though,
shirt.
if you do Build a Nation Wales, I'm pretty sure, and apologies if there's any Welsh viewers or listeners who can correct me on this one, I'm pretty sure that Barry have a large Italian population. And I've played as them on FM before. So you do get quite a lot of Italian new gens coming through. Right. So that's maybe something to think about, actually, as well as a nice little Build a Nation potential for Wales.
So
Wales
I might do it
fun.
British Isles, you know, sort of
one.
like a journeyman, but only within the British Isles. Because I don't know how many leagues I want to load up. I've never really experimented with journeyman with like loading in extra leagues and stuff. I know you can do it because you load them in at the end of the season, but I don't think it loads quite everything in, right?
Actually, it's almost the opposite. It actually loads more than you'd think. Sometimes to the point where you end up with a load of players in the save, like just generating as almost like supplementary characters to build it up. And you can actually find that it can make your scouting quite powerful in those first couple of seasons. I turned the Spanish fourth tier on, even though I was managing in the top flight of Spain, just so that I could get our B team in a playable league. And oh my God, some of the regens that got added to those teams just to fill those squads out. There was guys in the end, we found out that had like 180 PA coming through these fourth tier sides in Spain. It was crazy.
So it adds regens and it adds, or new gens, sorry. And does it add in, so let's say there's a fourth tier Spanish team and you add in this fourth tier of Spain into your game after 3 seasons. Does it load in the players from that team and the new gens, or does it only load in new gens?
I think it depends on how you've built your database. So if you're using like an advanced set, like the way I use it at the moment is I load players as well on top. That way you get this kind of baseline in the background. So I think when you add the leagues in, it kind of goes, right, this team is now relevant and it's playable, which means it has to have these squads and needs to have a minimum number of players in each squad. So I guess it kind of goes, are these players designated to any other teams because of general transfer movement, which is unlikely. So I probably just dump them in, but 3 years older. And then any gaps through various other reasons, with be it retirements or just the game balance in the database, it usually just populates it with new gens because of the add players to playable teams option on the advanced settings pre-save. So I think it kind of, the later you do it in the save, the more likely it is to be impactful in the most wild ways because there's less real players around for it to put in the teams, I suspect.
Does it change those players' attributes as well?
I don't know.
No, it only does the ones who you said were already in the game when you loaded the original database.
Yeah, and a lot of those guys would probably have a lot of missing attributes anyway. They'll have a lot of like randomized attributes, I find. The lower down you get anyway.
Because I wonder if it would draw in a real player after 3 years who wasn't there. And then
that I don't
give
know.
them randomized attributes.
Possibly. I don't think it does, but I've never really thought about it, honestly. That's not something I've even looked into. That would be interesting to test, though.
Anyway, that's what I might do. I might do a little British Isles journeyman and jump between the leagues. And the women's leagues as well. That's the key bit this year.
I like that. That reminds me of the British Steel. I did that. Irish Steel. That was fun. It was fun, but I never got anywhere near completing that. What I found when I was doing that was I found it difficult leaving clubs to go and have to try and manage someone else. And I was like, wow, I'm having a nice time here. I don't really want to leave. Like, this is lovely, and I know I should leave to go and try and challenge someone else. And I felt as though my storytelling was a little bit off on that save, but that sounds cool. I like a British Isles save, and then with the women's leagues in there as well, sounds awesome. I think my ideas are slightly changing. Like, so on beta, I'm Sunderland, and interestingly, Sunderland are not the title force that they are in real life, or at least their manager currently isn't on games. So I got relegated in the first season, and I'm the first person who's doing a reputation rebuild in the beta. I've actually already managed to relegate my own team. So I'm currently in the championship. The plan was to do it over YouTube anyway, and maybe do like a couple of seasons, and sort of, if I was having fun with it, maybe make a video for like 5 seasons offline or whatever. That might actually continue on stream now, because we're currently trying to get back in the Premier League. I was like, oh, there's no jeopardy here, but now there is. So I'm doing that, but I also spoke to the chat about a plan, because my initial plan was to do Journeyman. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I quite enjoy doing. But I was a bit like Si. I was unsure of the long-term glitches that there might be going forward. I didn't want to know about things that would just sprout up. And again, if I'm moving clubs, I'm not enjoying it. Like, it has killed saves before, like going to the wrong club and that instant regret of like, oh God, now where are we going? And where do you start with a Journeyman as well? Like, do you start in Europe? Do you start out in foreign lands? And at that point, are you considering it becoming a Pentagon? And I was just, do you know what? Nothing really grabbed me with it. And I was like, maybe I'm just doing that because that's the norm. But then when we were in Sunderland and we were struggling, I was like, if we get sacked, then do we start a new save right now in beta and continue it through? And I thought, do we go to Darlington and do Darlington? And I'm not sure about how a one club save would work as well, from my own managerial abilities. But Darlington, they've been a Phoenix club. They've been like gone into administration. They've got this massive like sort of history where they had a 36,000 seater stadium given to them in the non-leagues, which then meant that their owner ended up in jail for unrelated reasons, nothing to do with the stadium. And they're sort of like they're having to rebuild. Some people had suggested doing York City as an option, but I was like, well, the expectation for them is to win the league or get promoted, so that's a bit too much pressure for me, really. So Darlington, right at the bottom of the playable leagues, expectation really, really low. And just see what happens from there. And is it a non-league to legend? Is it a journeyman? I don't really know, but it's close enough to home. Yeah, maybe that sort of sits a little bit with me, possibly.
I like it. Darlington was one of my options because they have some kind of nice shirts, don't they?
They do. Yeah.
I was looking at them with the non-league guys, and I was like, "Oh, that's a nice shirt." Do you want to stay with them? You want to take them to the top, or?
Do you know what? I'm not committed either way, to be honest. Like, it would be great to do it. It would be great to be able to have that whole, like, I took the team all the way through. That would be cool. But I suppose I've got to be open to the possibility of football's football, isn't it? Opportunities come up. It might not work out at Darlington, right? Okay, who's going to give me a job next? And with the world being open, with, the men's leagues and the women's leagues, that's when that level of enjoyment can really build as well, and build a bit of a story behind it. So yeah, I don't know. See that. It would be cool to go all the way with Darlington, but if it's not, let's see what happens and sign. Maybe we can do a British Isles thing as well and start exploring a little bit more.
It is like, actually, maybe you've gone the same way as Matt, the same way as me this year, and that you didn't see. Part of me is like, I want to set a challenge because that sort of sets like objective goals, right, and things to aim towards. But then, like, you had the same experience with me last year with the Builder Nation, where it like abruptly ended when it shouldn't have really, because both of us had quite a lot of success at the clubs we were at. Turned them into European forces when they were, minus.
Still plenty of the save to go as well.
Yeah, and it's like, it's like, okay, that sort of ruined that save in a way. So we didn't really complete it. And it's like, okay, do I want to set myself an objective or like an objective challenge that you just end up finishing early because you say, oh, okay, I'm going to do a non-lethal legend or whatever you would call it. I'm sure that was copyright Lelujo, part of the Prim. And you end up, 5 seasons in, you've won the Champions League, and then you're like, okay, now what? Whereas, so part of that's like, okay, that's like there is an objective, and you can build the story towards that. For Matt, the completion of the Build a Nation, which, although for Matt that is a long-term goal. The other way is like, okay, let's just see where it goes, and that's a story in and of itself. Are you like?
I see it as potentially it allows me to have 2 saves. Like, so so I suppose really the thing that's made me think this is nobody knows how FM26 is going to play, right? We've played a little bit of beta. We've struggled with various bits of it. We've enjoyed a few bits of it. I don't know what it's going to look like in 20 years time, 25 years into the game, like playability wise. So I don't want to be committed to a save where something happens and it breaks my game. And I'm like, fuck, I was trying to like literally keep my excitement levels high and it's just ruined the save. It might be absolutely fine, but I was like, I can't have another long-term save ruined. So I thought, right, let's do this, non-league, which again is a long-term save, but it's not defining, it's not a build a nation, something's not dependent. And then if we do get to the position where we do end up, winning a Champions League somehow, then we can load another save up for next year, like however long's left until FM27 comes out, and that gives me something new. There might be things that have been worked on in the background, more data updates, international football might be in by the time I start that. So that gives me an opportunity to really start playing with another story and do it that way. That's my thinking. What do you reckon, Matt?
I think I like what you're saying, because I think it's like you've given yourself different runways, different avenues to push off of, rather than committing to one thing too heavily. Because, as you say, there's more uncertainty around this game than ever. So having that out, like, it is a risk doing a save like a Building a Nation right now. Well, not right now. I want to wait for the game to come out and then give it like a week maybe, just to see if anything crazy comes up. I can do some tests, some long-term sims, just to see if there's anything, some like absolute like landmine that's in season 9 that you wouldn't have tested or got to in the beta.
What was the thing that you noticed last year about the players' prices just suddenly plummeted, like 5 seasons in or whatever?
I think it was season 7 and 8.
7. Yeah.
So it's around that kind of point. There was a random reputation bug that basically meant that all the player values reset to the standard, which meant that your league had got crazy good, but all the player values plummeted through the floor like a stock market crash. And then it did the same thing 10 years later. It was on some weird cycle. It's like the lookup database that they used to set player values, which was based on reputation levels, got like it was almost like a divergence from the database in some way, and then it corrected itself over 3 years, but then after 10 years it would like disconnect again. It was the weirdest thing. So stuff like that can certainly have an impact, but you'll be in a good spot in that case, because you get to enjoy that one save and then you get to start something fresh, and that gives you like this new blossom. Whereas that's one of the only things I've enjoyed about 24 as a longer cycle, is I got to do 2 long-term saves, and I never get to do that. And maybe planning for that is actually a better idea than planning long-term, perhaps. I mean, what would you say would be a good idea? What are you thinking maybe as a backup plan if that does go a little bit into that direction? Like, say you have to start a brand new save. What other things have you got on the plate?
I mean, Journeyman for me is the one, just dossing around, seeing where we go. But it's very. So I don't want something that's. How do I word this? Goal driven is difficult for me, because ultimately I don't tend to meet those goals, right? So, like, the British Steel was a great thing. I really, really loved the idea of it. Couldn't get it done. Like, just couldn't get it done. Pentagon, I love the idea of that. That's the ultimate Journeyman save. Maybe that's something I look to go back to, because I can have a bit of fun with it. But I like an extra few leagues added into it. Again, I don't know how extra leagues are going to play out over the course of the year as well. I mean, I started adding the mega pack into FM24, but I mean, is that going to work in 26? Who knows, really? So I don't want to like run the risk on that. I suppose the other option is if long saves don't work, it's just a bunch of 5 years or 10 years and just keep doing some little short-term saves, like almost do I suppose it would probably end up being rebuild style stuff, but actually playing it. No disrespect to the rebuild YouTube, which is sort of simulated. I'd just be doing it actual. Like, so, right, we'll rebuild Blackburn Rovers. We'll do it for 5 seasons and see where we go. Or, do that. Maybe keep some short. Maybe I'll do some community challenges for the podcast, and we'll do that and actually play them. That might be my other way of doing it. If the long-term stuff doesn't work, I've got to just have some short-term things up my sleeve, I reckon.
It's always good to have a fallback, isn't it? Like, you need that. I always call it New Game Plus, but it doesn't always have to be because you've completed the goals. It could also be because you feel like either the goals are unattainable or you just want a fresh pivot. Like with my last Journeyman save, I had this plan where if I ever did complete the goal, I was going to piss off to South America for a few years just to do some stuff there and then maybe come back and I like a bit of survival specialist, like every year finding a team in like a journeyman sense where you find a team that's struggling, apply for the job, try to keep them up or down, but no matter what, you're leaving at the end of the season. So you just get this fresh like conveyor belt of fun teams to manage in all these kind of weird scenarios. It's the reason I wish there was a scenario mode in FM where you could create custom scenarios and jump straight into it like you used to with those like never win anything with kids stuff. Having a custom way of building those would be immense.
I'm sort of tempted now thinking about it to start that journeyman. And then if it just at some point, because you can just load in the leagues, you just make it into a pentagon, right? You're like,
yeah.
This is now a pentagon. I don't know. But then you get so far into the future. There is something quite nice about being in the present because you see players, you see things that are happening.
See, I'm the opposite.
See, that's the bit that I don't like. That's the bit that I quite like getting away from. Like when we joked on because the idea that the 100 years in the future vid, mate, that I was joking on in our WhatsApp chat going, I'll do 100 years in the future, and that's where I'm starting my journeyman. Like for me, that would be the best journeyman. Like to go around, nothing is real. Let's see where we go. All the leagues are all over the place. Like, I think that would be fun. But from an audience and viewers perspective, I think they like a little bit of familiarity. They like the idea of like who's where, who's what. But there's now part of me is now trying to talk myself back into this 100 years in the future thing. I don't need more ideas. But that would be that would be wild.
Is it the Diffuse Challenge where you take over a promoted team? You sim one season, take over a promoted team, right?
Yes.
Imagine that. But you do 100 years in the future and you find someone in League Two who's like Man United or Liverpool or something. It's like, you got to, it's a fallen giant save, right? I actually, it probably would be too hard because I'm sure they'd have the facilities and stuff, but it could be kind of an interesting thing. Like,
it could be a fun angle to do it, couldn't it?
You could face paint yourself as a half cyborg.
Or just you be Tony Jameson AI. It's just like, but I know what you mean because the problem with it comes to those kind of saves, that would be really fun. I think the issue is always you have to then have that secondary view for content wise. And it is, I find not everyone has that same perspective on it. And I found that whenever I've tried to do stuff like that, when I made that Premier League years video, for example, I was properly invested in it and I had an hour and a half to try to explain this Premier League season set in the future. The problem I had was that I couldn't, in that timescale, provide enough context to the characters for the entire thing that people could identify with it if they didn't like directly support one of the clubs that were involved. And even then, it was tough. I think you need that like latching on point of like relatability in some way. So I think that's why, as much as I like playing with all the regens and stuff, I feel like the best part is probably the transition between them when there's a bit of both worlds kind of thing. Seems to be the best place, the happy middle.
Yeah, and I think even with the journeyman itself, like, it almost depends. If you start in the wrong league, then you're starting off on the wrong foot. Like, we were fortunate when we did the journeyman in FM24 that we started at HIFK in Finland. We weren't getting paid. Like, we were in the second division, so we had a bit of narrative about the fact we weren't getting paid. And then there was this 18-month transfer ban. So I sort of stayed out of spite, to be honest, really. But once we finished what we thought was a reasonable amount of time in Finland, the game also sometimes throws you a little bone where you can like jump a level that you shouldn't be able to get to. So you can move through the ranks a bit quicker. And maybe there's a little bit more sort of like needing to rein yourself in, because I shouldn't have been given the job at Farrell Constanta in Romania, which was like, they had so much money in Division 2. We then like steamrolled Division 2 in Romania and we were steamrolling Division 1 in Romania to the point where we were almost going to win the title. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to leave. I can't just literally go from part-timers in Finland to being in the Champions League in 2 seasons. That just doesn't make sense. So got to leave. So you're almost hamstringing yourself in the story while you're doing it. So that has the potential on a journeyman as well. Like, and you've got to get the chat have got to be involved in and feel connected to the club as well. And there's a lot of stuff that you need to get right for a journeyman to go really, really well.
You just need that club that people can latch onto and identify with. I had no idea that you went to HIF because, like, weirdly, when I did my first ever journeyman save on FM in 2015, the first team I managed in that save was HIF.
Yes.
It was strange. They were always just there.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Like we did the British Steel, and the first job we got offered was Cardiff Met Uni, and in chat they were just going, "But you're not getting paid, TJ. Like Mrs. J is not going to let you go to Cardiff for no money." So we actually talked ourselves out, and that's where we went to Banbridge in Northern Ireland. And off the back of that, there was we had the Banbridge players rocking up in the stream and stuff. So
that's the best.
That little change of where we were going to go really built the save up, because my chat hadn't seen us managing Northern Ireland before, so we had all that to build together. Whereas if we'd have just done with things that are relatively familiar, again, it's like, oh yeah, we've seen this drill before, we know where we're going with it.
There's comfort and familiarity, but you sometimes just need that little extra spice on the side, because sometimes you don't know what you like until you try it, and sometimes you can just latch onto something and everyone's just like, oh no, this is great. And then once you've got that, it's brilliant, because you're having fun, chat having fun, the save is just generally good. That's the perfect balance. It's so hard to get that.
And I think there's also as well, Si, how do you feel about this at the minute right now? We spoke about this slightly before we started recording as well. We are, from a creator's perspective, benefiting from larger numbers right now in terms of interest in the game. So there is part of me is conscious of that also, rather than going okay, we're currently managing Sunderland, that's great. If I then suddenly turn and go, right, so we're doing the third division of Indonesia now, this is different, right? Then there's a lot of people who might go, no, that's not for me. And they could walk off and fine, absolutely understandable. I'm not one that's just going to play to the masses. We know that, but there is also part of that as well, where you sort of go, I don't want to torpedo any momentum I'm currently building. So maybe I do have to, and that's maybe the joy of the 2 saves this year, to say, right, let's do something that's relatively familiar. And then if you're still with me come February, March time, hey, let's go around the world and see what can happen. And this is the real TJ.
Yeah, that's definitely on my mind. Before you mentioned it just then, I was just, that is the thing that's in the back of my mind. I mean, all 4 of us have seen massive boosts. Thank you everyone who's been dropping in, but especially for me and Tony, who aren't Twitch partners or anything. Though I think Tony might be next month, and if I'm lucky,
soon,
maybe me too. Yeah. So we got to keep the momentum up, and we're looking at switching from teams that people know with players that people know to going and playing on the Welsh coast. That's going to be a part of me's thinking, okay, maybe I stay with that beta save a little bit, just that little bit longer. Stick, maybe go with the beta save through till start of December, and then switch over to the Welsh. Also, because I think the game isn't finished yet. And I would quite like some updates before I jump into the, Welsh leagues, especially if there's things like rule mistakes and stuff like that. And I think, okay, that's the kind of bugs that they're going to get to later. So maybe I just hold off just that little bit longer on the main save for a couple of weeks, and I stick with Portsmouth. Also, because right now I'm struggling in the Championship with Portsmouth. So it was my last save on FM24 was Portsmouth. I won the Champions League with them. So I'm okay, right. It's like a mirror, right? So now I'm doing the same with them, but with this year's team. I'm like, can I get them back to the Premier League? Can I get them into Europe? There's a 4 or 5 year save there. I feel like if I leave it off with the beta, but I've been very close to. I've been called into the manager's boardroom, much like yours. How did you avoid the sack, Tony? I avoided it.
I think my board forgot to sack me. I think they went on holiday and went, we've done everything right, and then we did sack him, didn't we? No, I don't think we did. Okay.
So I had this weird thing. I lost 9 games in a row or something, or I didn't win in 9 games. I was bottom of the table. I was 10 points adrift, and then I lost to Bromley in the FA Cup 4-1, and I was like, they called me into a meeting. I was like, I'm definitely done. And I said, the players didn't play well. And they were like, okay, fine. And I had 2 meetings like that. I said, the players didn't play well. The board were like, okay, fine. And then the patch came in and we started to pick up some form. But I think I drew 2 really close games, one of which was Southampton. And then I lost 2 really close games and I won one in there. And they called me in again. And at that point, I pulled us out of the relegation zone, but like we dipped back in like by goal difference. They called me back into a meeting and I was like, we're actually playing much better, like clearly much better now. If we on current form, we will stay up. Like, but to them, it was like, okay, the overall points, they were still looking back at all those 9 losses from before and stuff. So they hadn't quite improved. And I was like, okay, they called me in and I was like, give me a month. Thankfully, since I said, give me a month, I've won 3 on the bounce. And so I knew we were playing much better. And, the loss was against like Preston, who were top of the league. And I was like, we lost 3-2 in a really close game. I think the other one was Wrexham or someone. So part of me is like, okay, if I get sacked, that's the end of this save, right? I'm not going to go to another team now. But if I don't get sacked, do I carry on with it? Because there's like, also, I kind of like, if I go to Wales now, I'm never going to see the Wonder Kids in the game I'm never going to see them, right? Probably never going to see them because by the time I get to the division that they should be in, they're going to be at really big clubs or they're retired. So I'm never like always in the beta. That's the time for me to go, let's take a punt on a South American Wonder Kid who the FM researchers have rated really well. I don't like to look them up. I never like to look them up, but just like going and finding them is kind of fun. How do you feel about that?
You've sort of summed up where I am, and I was going to ask Matt his views on it, to be honest, because I'm in that situation of when do I wrap up Sunderland as the beta turns into the main save, like the main game comes out on the Tuesday. I was like, do I go straight into new game? Do I give it a week or so? Like, how many seasons can I get out before it's time for a new save, sort of thing? And I've got in my head this 5-season. Sort of like sticking point or this 5-season objective in my head. But then we all know that sod's law, that season 5, you just miss out on something and you go, we need another season. And then all of a sudden it's like you're stuck in that cycle. Or maybe this is the year I just have to be ruthless with that and go, nope, we only had 5 seasons. We didn't get that far. Like we didn't do it. So where are you, Matt? Because you've already said there you're going to take a little bit of time before jumping straight in. Like,
yeah, it's interesting you say, is there time for another season? Because it sort of harks back to that whole kind of just one more game thing that FM's kind of famous for. And I think a lot of us, when we first got a chance to play this year's game, felt that was lacking. And it's interesting that seems to be creeping back into the psyche again now, which maybe it was just a case in certain elements of us just getting used to it a bit more. And obviously things have improved, thankfully, that's bringing you that back. Because I'm still in my first season with Slavia at the moment. So obviously, like, I'm probably not even going to finish this season. But I think it's one of those decisions where you have to weigh up the content side and the enjoyment side at the same time, because that is the nature of the sort of position we're in, which is not unique, but it's certainly a little bit more different to the normal player who's just playing for fun at home. You're not balancing whether other people are interested in what you're doing. You're just, as long as you're interested, that's all that matters. And I always like to give it time, just sometimes like a week after the full release, just to see if there's anything crazy broken that needs fixing. Because with Treaty, I had a huge game-breaking issue that I didn't notice until 7 or 8 seasons into the save. Couldn't fix it, but it did get patched out later. And if I'd have maybe waited a little bit, could have started that and not had that issue. And I think what it is as well, like, beta for me, from a personal standpoint, with viewership on Twitch and stuff, is not normally a huge boon. Mostly because I tend to not choose like big name saves for the beta. I just tend to choose random stuff that chat have brought up and it's got stuck in my head. The entire reason I'm doing a Slavia save is to spite someone from chat, like, because I'd never managed in the Czech Republic before and I thought it'd be funny. And it is a really fun league as well. But the numbers this time around have been much more encouraging. That I think maybe it's just more interested in the new game. The save maybe just, there's just a lot more intrigue out there. And I'm curious I don't want to drag it out any longer than I need to, because I do really want to just get stuck into Wisła. And maybe I'm just a bit different at the moment, as a general vibe over the last couple of weeks. I have felt a lot different. It might just be that the beta release, everything has coincided perfectly with me being in a better place mentally. And maybe that's helped too. But I just want to crack on with something. I want to see if there is something to this and crack on with this project and just see if people are that interested in it that it can actually carry on. But I think that's the decision you've got to make. It's like, do you stick around with the thing that you're enjoying, because you clearly are, and is also doing well for you from a content standpoint. And so you've got those two big things, but you're also in the back of your mind thinking, I really want to do this other thing. And now I've got all these extra variables that I perhaps wasn't considering before. So it's a tough call to make because you're essentially thinking, do you think you would enjoy this next save you want to do as much as what you're doing right now?
I think I would, personally. I think I would. And I think that I think I've learned, maybe this is the thing. I think I've learned more in this beta than I have in previous betas. And what I mean by that is I've rattled through it and I've just tried to, I think it's even been mentioned before, like a lot of people are going through screens with a fine-tooth comb and going like, oh, this screen means this screen means that. And I'm like, let's get started. And I've just rattled through. We've done some games. I've just teared into it, not really given a lot of the game my fullest of intentions, because as far as I'm concerned, I'm just creating, I'm like presenting, I'm making a product. From that, I've maybe not spent as much time learning stuff. Whereas I now think if I go to the bottom and we say we take Darlington on, I'm probably better equipped now to start that save more successfully because I've seen how things play in the match engine. I've had a little bit of a nosy at how the tactics work. I now know what screens I need to start thinking about looking at. I know how the match engine plays. So I feel a little bit more prepared for a longer term save. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
What about you, Si?
Yeah, so part of it goes back to what I was saying about, is the game ready for my main save? And because like going through this 2-week beta period, they've clearly fixed a lot. And I've had some really frustrating points, but with things that have been fixed. I had the game crashed, right? My first 90 minutes of this save, I lost. I had to do it again. Thankfully, I think I managed to replicate pretty much everything, except I forgot to reset up my set pieces, which whatever, because we never got to the first match anyway. Like I managed to make all the same signings and everything. Actually, once I knew it, I was like, we did it in about 10 minutes. I was like, okay, who did I sign? I signed this player, this player, this player. And then I just didn't bother going for the ones I knew I didn't get. So like that part of that experience now, I'm like, okay, that when I play my main game, I'm not going to have that because, well, fingers crossed, I'm not going to have that because they've ironed out a lot of the issues and there are plenty more for them still to iron out. So I almost don't want to jump on it just yet in case I do still encounter those problems. And I think, yeah, it's how am I enjoying my save right now? I think so. Also, because it's my team, it's Portsmouth, right? And Tony's probably the same with Sunderland. And I'm enjoying trying to see whether I can do better than real life, which I'm not right now. Portsmouth are like, not by much. I'm probably, to be honest, I'm probably about the same points that Portsmouth are going to get. But it's a case of, yeah, with Sheffield Wednesday, haven't had a points deduction in my save, whereas they have in real life. Yeah, I think I want to see what happens for a few more years with the team. Maybe I just run 2 more seasons. Also, I am playing slower, I think, and I think that goes down to my match length. I think my FA Cup match against Bromley was like 50 minutes or 45 minutes of stream. But I was just getting so wound up in the game. It didn't occur to me until we got to the end of the game. And I was like, I swear this game kicked off at 10 o'clock and we're at like 10:30, 11 now. And we're still in this match. There also was like a 10-minute period where I broke down a goal and how awful it was. But it's just, yeah, I think it's going to take me a little bit longer in this beta. Well, in this beta save. And then we'll jump across to the main one. I'm not in a rush. I've got a whole year. There is another save that I am planning, but I think it'll be a discussion for a future episode based on what they add into the game. There is a shirt that's just off screen, which, depending on how Chris edits the video, it might be in screen, it might not. But it's a blue national team shirt for a team that's qualified for the World Cup.
Is it Cape Verde?
It is Cape Verde, yeah. Actually, I've got 2 of their shirts. So yeah, that one's for sale, but the other one, I'm going to still have a shirt. So yes, I'm going to be trying to do like the World Cup, my World Cup mode when the World Cup runs comes around. And if anyone wants to join me, they're more than welcome. Try and win the World Cup with as many teams as possible. If they implement it a good mode, that could be like, if they make it a proper mode, that could actually be kind of fun challenge to do. Like, could you imagine win the World Cup with Cape Verde?
World Cup network.
So yeah, I think I've got to find like the journeyman that fits in that gap as well. And then beyond that as well, when we come out the other, so this is the other thing I was going to think. like this is what I had back on FM24 because it was a Euros year. I did the Euros the same, but with the Euros.
Mm-hmm.
But when we came out the other side of the Euros, I didn't go back to my Belgian build nation. I could have done. And then I went across to do a Bilbao save, which I'd never done before. So I'm like, or Athletic Club, sorry, they're not called Bilbao officially. Athletic Club. So I'm like, okay, if I go do a World Cup mode for 2 months, what do I do when I come out the other side? Because you still got 3 to 4 months before the new game then. Like, do I go back to the journeyman, but all my viewers have forgotten what the hell was going on and I've forgotten who was where and what? Or do I go do something else? So I think managing that, Tony, I know you faced this problem when you had your Jameson's collab and stuff, and you were doing the Pentagon, and you were like, "What do I do?"
Well, yeah, I mean, the Pentagon was an ill. Well, thing is, I think I've said it publicly on stream. I've maybe said it on the podcast as well. And if I haven't, then the reason that the Pentagon was chosen, I knew we were never going to get the Pentagon done because I knew the Jameson stuff was happening in the background, but I obviously wasn't able to announce that at the time. But I had to say I was doing something because, of course, 25 was looking like it was being delayed. So it was like, right, what are we going to do? I was like, let's do a Pentagon. That sounds like the sort of thing I'd probably say, knowing that I had like 3 months to do it. It was never going to happen, but I knew that I had something else lined up a month down the line. It is tricky when you have viewers that are away for stuff and they come back in, and I just tried it as a new save. I was like, new save just seems to be the way to go. Like, and it always just, at that time as well, when there was no 25, it was just that thing of other people were trying new saves, and it was just, right, let's all go agree we're going to go back to 0.0, start again, and we're all just like, if you're new coming in, let's all get on the journey together. So that's where I think we sort of are now. There's a lot of new people coming in, seeing Football Manager. So hopefully they can get on board with us and they can sort of be entertained along the way. That's my wish.
Well, hopefully everyone comes along on this journey with us. Let us know what your own saves are down below. You know, what's your plans? What are you playing for your beta? What are your plans for the main game? Absolutely.
Let us know those. Make sure you follow us all on social media, because I think it's probably about time to start wrapping the show up. We are going to do more content throughout the course of the year as well. Every week we get early access via Patreon, and there is also some extra content happening on Patreon as well. Matt, do you want to take a guess at the handle for Patreon?
Could it be patreon.com/the FM Show pod?
Excellent. There you go. Look, our first time.
Learn from the best.
First time.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Matt. So, so you can support the show for as little as £3 a month. That's much appreciated. We also have the WFM Show as well, which is a fantastic show, our sibling podcast that sits within our network, which is FM girl Alice and Ank Lee and Katie. They make a wonderful podcast all about female and women's football within the world of Football Manager. So go and give them some love also. And yeah, I think this is it, innit? The game's out. The saves are out. Comment down below where you're currently managing. Let us know how you're feeling. And we'll see you next week for another episode.